As I was preparing, I stumbled on something, and this is going to come across a bit serving, and I apologize in advance. I'm not usually interested in trying to insert myself into a story. Um, Says the guy that's broadcasting on YouTube, but I take anyway. So go ahead and snark at me. I get it. But in all seriousness, what happened earlier this morning? I was preparing my interview with Lena Khan, and I had interviewed Jonathan Cantor, who was the head of the antitrust division during the previous Justice Department. And it was an interview I conducted with him when NBC owned my podcast. And so I was looking for it, right? Did the old fashioned Google search, right? They're seeing if I could find it somewhere archived. I just wanted to see if I could find transcript, something of it. And as I hadn't Googled myself in a while. I was just doing Chuck Todd podcast, Jonathan Cantor, right? And as I'm typing, Google will helpfully give you other things as you type a person's name. And suddenly the words Chuck Todd illness shows up. And I'm like, I wonder what that is. I was curious, so I hit it. And now, of course, everybody has experienced the way the Google pages work now. You get the AI, you get Gemini's quick summary of the search in your thing. And so when you do Chuck Todd illness, here's what happens. The AI overview ends up saying the following. Chuck Todd, the former host of Meet the Press, has publicly disclosed that he has Parkinson's disease. He revealed his diagnosis in 2018 after being diagnosed in 2013. While specific details about the progression of his illness are not widely publicized, there have been reports of symptoms like fatigue and weight changes, as well as a decrease in public appearances. Okay, there's nothing about this is true. I'm not going to say, I don't feel like I've been, this is defamatory. I don't have Parkinson's disease. I get a physical. Anyway, my point is none of this is true. I've not had any illness. I was trying to, is there something, nothing, I've had a few kidney stones that I've gone public with. I've, knock on wood, I think I'm up to nearly a year without a kidney stone, but I frequently get those. That's about the worst health problem I've had to deal with. And I'm sitting here going, wait a minute, this is this is the AI search. And then of course you can do Chuck Todd illness update. And then it claims Chuck Todd, who was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2013, has publicly acknowledged his condition and has been managing it while continuing his media career. I have never publicly acknowledged this because there is nothing to acknowledge. And then it says he shared his diagnosis in 2018 and has since been involved with the Parkinson Association of Central Florida, even serving as president in 2021. Not true. It says Todd has spoken about his low gluten-free diet. That is true. And his exercise routine. That is true. But everything else is not true. Now, it appears that there is a gentleman with the first name of Todd who's involved with the Parkinson Association of Central Florida. So that got conflated. The point is that here I am. Who is going to, where does one go? I have sent a note to Google to say, hey, this is all wrong. I don't know how much more to tell you. This is all wrong. And, it gets into a large, this could have been something, truly defamatory, could have been something horrendous. You could be accused of a crime. Where do you, who, can I control what is said about me, especially when it's not true, what is said about me? And look, as somebody who's been a public figure, there's been plenty of garbage said about me that hasn't been true. Plenty of garbage that has been said about my family that isn't true. And for the longest time, we all just sort of ignored it. We figured, it sort of will go, the non-truth stuff just sort of goes away and dies. But what has happened with all these AI tools? These large language models have trained themselves on the garbage that has been saved on the internet. So even if, take Gemini in this AI business, it's probably 85% correct, which is B plus, right? B plus material. The problem is the 15% that is wrong taints it all. And this is the inherent flaw right now, I think, in where we are in AI. I hope this is a good lesson, right? Like the Grok incident with how quickly, and Elon Musk he didn't like the answers that Grok was giving, and he wanted to give new answers, and suddenly he created a Nazi AI persona. Maybe by sharing this story, more people will understand is that AI is not all knowing. AI has got a lot more flaws right now, and the inherent flaw is the data you have trained the AI on, right? And Google doesn't fully appreciate that there is a lot of garbage, particularly about public figures, that isn't true for a variety of reasons, right? And nobody is saying they have to fact check everything, but there's got to be some form of truthiness that is there, and a consumer, whoever it is, an individual, has got to have some right to correct, a right to get this right, because this, again, I this is not being accused of having a disease that you don't have is not, it's not going to, cause me problems, personal, whatever it is. That's not the issue. I don't, this is not fair to people that are dealing with Parkinson's, whose stories should be told, and who's, should be, and things like that. So I just wanted to share this story because this is a warning. All right. AI is very flawed right now. Okay. I have a personal experience with it. And clearly Google's AI is not as, and yet what is Google doing? Every time you do a Google search, it produces the AI overview first. I watch my son. He just takes the AI overview and just assumes it's fact. And, like the early days of Wikipedia, there's a lot of manipulation still out there. I'm not saying that over time this won't get better as these AI, but to put it out there in public, I mean, this is what happens when these tech companies essentially want to test their technology out in public, sort of let it all crowdsource the problems away. Well, there are people that get caught up in that crowdsourcing of information, where you may defame them, you may harm them, you may do harm to them, or you may cause them so much anxiety they do self-harm. So I share the story. I hope Google, I am happy, whoever's listening from Google, I am happy to participate. So you guys need to figure out how this happened. I'm happy to help out in any way if I can help you, because look, I'm not an AI skeptic. This is a probability, I know what AI is. It's not intelligence. It's not, a robot. It is simply probability. It's a probability sample of what, what's likely to be said next, what's the next word, et cetera. So I am pro the concept of continuing to try to make this work, but it's possible we haven't fully, this stuff's half baked and it's being released to the public, probably in an attempt to try to catch up to the folks over at OpenAI, why Google's doing this and all this stuff, and they're pushing it out there for a variety of reasons on that. Maybe it has to do with making it look like hey, we have AI tools too, but I'm here to tell you, this AI tool ain't working the way it's supposed to. And anybody that's been in the public space like myself, who's had so much bullshit written about them, stuff that's not true, this is how it can all get cobbled together and create literally a fictional story that the only thing that is correct is that I've worked for NBC and my name is Chuck Todd. All right, let me deal with a couple questions there. So, Helena Khan, I would have told you about that, but I didn't want to make the interview about that. But the FTC, come on, where do we go as citizens to essentially correct when our persona is misidentified and and frankly just wrong by by one of these big tech companies?